It's a new day, and that means there's a new tutorial. And this one was requested by The Message. He asks if it's possible to change the score based on what type of AI we kill. And to answer that, yes, and quite easy too. It does require a few more nodes than just the 3 for a universal point amount, but it's nothing to worry about. Like with the other tutorial, I'll have it set up for working both team modes and free-for-all, as well as counting toward your personal score. Without much else to say, let's get cooking. Okay, for map setup, we really don't have a lot because generally you're going to have your spawners already set up in your map, more than likely, in your wave setup, because this is more of just trying to figure out how to get the different points for the different types. So I'm going to go ahead and set these up. I'm going to put a grunt here, an elite here, and a brute here. I'm going to get them all set up, and then we'll explain any small differences in the spawn settings that we may need to talk about. Okay, so after just looking, there really wasn't any settings that are required to be changed for your spawners. So like I said, the script works for all spawners on your map, and it works very well, and that's all we have to do. It wasn't really any map setup as much as it's just me showing you a setup that I'm going to use to demonstrate. So without anything left, let's go right into the scripting and get this going. So I'll place the new script brain down, and we're going to go on in, and we're going to grab, of course, what you would expect, the on AI unit killed. Originally, you would think just grabbing the squad and getting the AI units from it, creating a list, and then finding out from there would work, but it doesn't work that way. Because once the unit is killed, it's not counted as part of the squad anymore, so it can't count toward your points or find out any data about it. So what we actually have to use is something called a death context. And for this example, we're going to use was character type. Death context here, the death context there. There we go. Now what we change here is pretty self-explanatory. We're going to change the species to grunt, and this doesn't matter. This only matters if you want a very specific AI to give certain points. Like, for example, if what was killed was a grunt conscript yellow, then it would give the points. But if it was a grunt ultra, it would not give the points. This is a way to separate like stronger elites from the weaker elites. Like an elite enforcer, if you kill that, let's say you get 5 points. But doing it this way, if you kill the warlord, you'd get, let's say, 20 points. That's a way to differentiate the exact unit instead of just the species they belong to. It's a subcategory that really helps if you're getting that specific. But for this tutorial, we're just going to use the species because it functions quite literally the same as this, just on a little bit more in depth. So if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking to separate a elite from a different kind of elite that you can spawn and get points based on the different types of elites, that's your go-to right here. Other than that, all the nodes will be the exact same. So continuing on, we're going to go over here to our logic tab and grab a branch. All this does is check to see if what was killed was the same species as what we have specified here. So it's going to see, we killed an AI, was it a grunt? And if that is true, then something happens, we get our points. So we go ahead and connect here to this. Now this is going to look kind of ugly. This script is not going to look pretty in the end because of just how it's set up. So we're going to get a get player team node. This is important for later, but we're going to go ahead and grab it. So it's here where we need it to be, and connect the killing unit to the player. Because it's very similar to, you know, when you get the points, you would connect the team to the adjust team score, but we're going to have to go a little further than that this time. So we're going to go ahead and grab that. We're going to go up here to game mode and adjust team points. If true, if it is a grunt, we're going to adjust the points by 1. So a grunt will earn you 1 point when you kill it. And we're going to go ahead and connect team to the player's team that killed it. So only the team that that player belonged to will earn that point. And we're going to set up our free-for-all version too, right behind it, which is adjust player points. And we're going to set the value to the same thing, 1, and then we connect player over here to killing unit. And you're going to see we're going to have a lot connected right here, which is why it's going to get so hairy looking. So what do we do if it isn't a grunt that we killed? Well, now for the first time, we're going to use the if false on the branch. We go ahead and duplicate that. And we duplicate this as well. The only thing we change here is the species. Now this doesn't matter. This won't be applied unless you use this output as our same character type. So you can leave this as grunt conscript yellow, and it will not affect anything at all. But we're going to go ahead and connect death context here to the death context there, because you can use multiple outputs. And then make sure that and are the same species condition. And we're going to connect this to the false. So if false, then we're going to go to the next branch. And what happens if it was an elite we killed? Well, all we do, duplicate these here and adjust them accordingly. So we want 3 points for an elite. So we grab our team from the same place we grabbed the first one. And the player as well. And you see where we're kind of going with this. You see where we're going to end up. And then connect this, the if true. So if true, adjust team points and adjust player points. These work separately in 2 different game modes. This is for free-for-all. This is for team points. Just to make sure, in team game modes, just to be clear so everybody knows. They can both be in the same script and they will not affect each other. So what if what we killed wasn't a grunt and it wasn't an elite? But we only have a brute. So what we can technically do here is we don't have to specify the brute. If it's the last remaining AI type that we have, we can have it set to if false and adjust this to 5. Because that's what we're going to do. We're going to have 5 points for the brute. Because if we killed something and it wasn't a grunt and it wasn't an elite and there's only one thing it can be, then that's where this comes in. Now, I'm going to do that. I'm going to disconnect this because I'm going to show you a functionally identical way of making the same thing happen, but it's basically there for if you want to include more types later or if you have more. We're going to go ahead and duplicate this again, and you can already tell we're going to change this to brute and hook everything up the exact same way we did before. So now that you see we have those hooked up the exact same way that these were, if true, activate, and then team, set there, and player to that. And that's it. It functions identically to even if these two were not here. This right here, if false, can be connected here, and it will do the same thing that this script is doing right now. The only thing this does is it gives you room to add more without having to disconnect anything. But that's how you set that up. So if we had a hunter and something else, we would just keep adding until we didn't have any more type of units that would spawn. And this also goes for the different types. So if you get all the different types on your map and you want to have a different score for each individual type of AI, then you'll have to create that many death contexts, which is not that big of a deal. It takes up room and it gets very hairy. So the last thing we're going to cover is the adjust personal score, which we're going to go ahead and combine the two, so we only have to play test it twice. And we do the same thing as the rest. We connect player to the killing unit on all of them. And of course, score adjustment. So let's say we get 25 points for a grunt, 50 points for an elite, And then let's say 100 points for a brute, just because. There we go. Now it's all set up for free-for-all, team modes, and we get our personal score adjusted as well. With that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and test this out, and we're going to go into the actual game mode since it's a little harder to tell what your score is in Forge. So we're going to go into the actual game modes, test it out. I'm going to go team mode and then free-for-all to demonstrate how this works. So my game crashed before I could save the work I did to the script. So I redid the whole thing, but it's identical to the way the video was done. I just, when I did the score, the only thing is, he gives 25 like the video showed, but he does 75. He gives you 75 points, and the brute will give you 120 points on a kill, but or score. You'll still get 3 points for killing him, and 5 points for killing him. So let's go ahead and see. We have 0 score and 0 points. Now we have 1 point and 25 score. 4 score because it added 3. And then 100 because it added 75 like I said. And then lastly, the 5 added to the 4 makes 9, of course. And then 120 plus 100 makes 220. Yep. So that's how it works, and that's how you get different AI units depending on their species or their exact type to give you different points based on what they are. The way these tutorials keep advancing my skill at scripting, I might actually reach Galaxy Brain after all. Hopefully that solves any issues you have with getting those specific kill points you've been needing for your maps. I've got loads of content coming this week because of the things I've both decided to try on my own and comments from you guys. I'm trying to tackle some things that no one else has been able to answer, or at least find some workarounds to them. So thanks for stopping by, and I hope to see you in the next one.